Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Game Hub. I'm your host, Gamer K, and it is the first video of September, guys. Kids are back in school. October's almost here. So, a lot of fun videos planned for this month. Yeah, nothing real special happens around September for us. It's been a while. What am I reviewing again? What do you mean you can't tell me? I'm supposed to know. Look, it's been a while. I've had a lot of things to do. Can you at least put an image of what it's related to that I can talk about? That will jog my memory. Oh, I have to talk about that. Well, that's interesting because... Oh! Oh! What the... Okay, when did you get the power to stop me from leaving this? Oh. Oh, right. There were a couple videos I wanted to run away from. Couldn't have warned me you could produce fields, invisible walls, so I couldn't leave. Can I at least still get a drink? Thank you. Because if I'm going to talk about something from this, I'm going to need all the liquid, all the caffeine, even though it's diet. I need all the energy I can get. Okay. So, yeah. Watch Dogs was a failure of a franchise, except for number 2, which was absolutely fantastic. And I even did I even did the DLC for Watch Dogs 2 a review years ago, like some of my first videos, and oh boy, the quality of that video was not so good. But my point still stands, is that the Watch Dogs 2 and Watch Dogs 2 DLC are some of the best in the series. And I never played Legion because I knew it was gonna bomb. I knew the DLC from it was gonna be lackluster. It was actually pretty decent. But I'm not going to be talking about Watch Dogs, the main game. Thank Lord. I will be talking about the impressive Badblood DLC, which came out months later after the game's release, which is pretty good for a DLC because normally DLCs come out like about a year or so after the game's initial release. But I'm going to be honest. Does Badblood give us the same boring crap from the original game? And does it have as little intriguing story? Well, to be honest, no. I prefer this to the original game. And let's talk about it. I know I've talked about it a little bit already, but to on point. In this game, in the DLC, it takes place about a year after the events of the main game. So Aiden's pretty much skipped town, basically. And we play as everyone's favorite rogue, Raymond Kenny, a.k.a. T-Bone. And when they announced that, I was ready, because T-Bone was the best part of the game. He was only there for a little bit. We didn't get much with him, but now we get more information. Having hacking into Bloom and getting rid of his digital fingerprint, basically, T-Bone is ready to ship off away from Chicago and leave everything behind. And we know that happens because of the number of Watch Dogs 2. And I'm going to be honest, playing as T-Bone is a lot... I want to say it's more realistic than playing with Aiden. I mean, having Aiden have the mask all the time and the brown trench coat, like, it's not as appealing as Raymond Kenny's I don't give a god outfit or his everything about him. He's fantastic. Not only that, we get to use a freaking wrench. Oh, ha, yeah, I get it. Not that wrench. At least not until the sequel. We get to use a lot more mechanics. This is where they bring in the RC car that with the built-in taser in order to do puzzles, and I do love that they made it even better in the Watch Dogs 2. But this is where the building blocks for the drone and the RC car really start to get built into the Watch Dogs armory. And yeah, you can use weapons if you want, which isn't a problem. So basically, after deleting his digital fingerprint, we get called by that homeless guy, Fruller, who was also an employee of Bloom with T-Bone. And yeah, apparently the Fixers are after him and have taken Fruller hostage. And again, doing a lot of the legwork, we find out that someone has put a big price for T-Bone's head. Most likely Bloom, because they don't need him to get away. So throughout the game, we are working on finding out who's hunting us down and stopping them, and then getting away from Chicago, like I said earlier. Now, the game is pretty decent for a DLC, and again, as much as I hated the main game, primarily because of Aiden, and the whole story felt, it's like they took bits and pieces of stuff they wanted to do and try to like mix them up in a way that just didn't, unlike the second game, it didn't flow well. When it kind of felt like, oh, here's a brick, we need to take this way and go and come back. That's what it felt like in the first game. And the DLC, it has that flow to it. That, I mean, there's not that much to do. I mean, we do the regular fixer contracts like we do in the main game. So having those in there just to beef up points and stuff is okay. But we also get access to the, let's see. This isn't it. Here it is. I was reading the wrong script. This is what I get for lazy assistance. Here we go. Yeah, so we get the street sweeper missions, which are missions that we're working with an officer. We're basically scrubbing the streets of dirty cops and gangs and all that. I mean, it's all done vocally, like through the phone, so we don't get to see her. So big decrease in animation budget. But it's okay. I mean, it's nothing spectacular. I mean, it's okay. It's nothing grand. And the DLC is actually pretty good. Clocking in at 4 hours for the main mission. And if you're doing all the side missions and all the trophies, if possible, it will take about double that, so 8 hours to complete everything in this DLC. And again, where it kind of lacks in side stuff. Oh, and there's also audio files that you'll find throughout the city that don't lead to any big missions. Just kind of gives context of what's been going on in the recent year after the main game's events. And I will admit, it's good. There are 10 main missions throughout the game. Spread them out. 3 acts. Yeah, and a good majority of them are really simplistic. And I will admit, they are harder than anything that a lot in the main game. Except for that goddamn prison mission. Which I swear to God, if any other game puts us in that kind of situation again, I might lose it. And if I ever recorded myself playing Cuphead, you would see how mad I get when it's a frustrating situation. All in all, Bloom, we discover that Bloom are the ones who hired the Fixers in order to take out T-Bone and to use Fruller to do it. And then okay, I'm going to be honest, I did not see this happening because normally in a DLC within a story, they kind of they almost give away what's the big, I don't want to say twist, but the big reveal, the big shock that part is. They kind of sense it in the beginning, but because it's only 3 chapters and it's only expressed at the last chapter, it's kind of at the same time exciting to find out, and at the same time it's also underwhelming because they don't really build it up to that. I mean, it's basically us finding a confidential informant who's been taken by mobsters, who we end up saving on an island mansion, which I like that they brought us to a different location, because if they do the same things in the original game, it just gets boring too quickly. But later on, after it is revealed that it is the Rat, Default from the first game, who appeared near the end of the game, who also revealed that Clara was the one who got the that technically got Aiden's niece killed and everything, and started this whole BS. And we technically take him out in the main game, but it turns out that wasn't him. That was just a decoy that he used. Now, Default, I'm gonna be honest, he will be talked about in another video, so I'm not gonna go so much into it. But basically, Default, it is revealed, like, through a conversation, that Default took this job pro bono because it's a personal mission. And I'm not going to explain any more than that, mostly because I'm going to talk about it during another video sometime in the future. But overall, it's a great story. It's a great story of revenge, and also Ray dealing with what he did in 2003 that caused the majority of the stuff to happen. The blackout of 2003 that he caused to show that there's a weakness in the system, which results in some tragedy, and the story there is beautifully done. I just wish it was intricated into the rest of the DLC, because the 2 first chapters, we get nothing of it. We're just going around, figuring stuff out, and then it's revealed in the last chapter of what the whole thing's been about. And it's kind of exciting, but then at the same time it's very underwhelming because they didn't build it up so much. Although the final act is my favorite part of the game, the final act, mostly because it's somewhat emotional. It's somewhat like we get more information on T-Bone and his background, like we never got any with Aiden throughout the main game. So the fact that we get a lot more from T-Bone in this than we ever did with Aiden makes T-Bone a better character. And I will say that there is a maze section where it is pretty fun, but it's only used once, so I kind of wish they did a little bit more with it. So, yeah. This DLC was pretty good. I remember my verdicts for the last DLCs that I did. I gave the Human Conditions one, which was a 3 DLC set. I gave that an 8 because of the stories, the themes, and basically the way we do things is amazing. I gave the No Compromise DLC a 5 because the first part of it is better than the rest of it. So, yeah. So, a 8 and a 5 between the last 2 DLCs of Watch Dogs, and those were the ones of the sequel. So, what does Bad Blood get? Well, it's kind of repetitive. The story in the last act make up for a majority of the blandness that is the rest of the first 2 quarters of the game. But overall, the ending is satisfying. It's something I didn't see coming. It's enjoyable to find out more of T-Bone's story, even though it's not done again. Although it is done again in Watch Dogs 2 with the Rodentia Academy side mission. So that's pretty good that they brought that back. But overall, because it's so short, kind of only 4 hours, 8 hours if you're doing everything, but realistically, as much as I love T-Bone and as much as I love the default story, there's just not enough meat on the bone to keep me invested and to love it as much. I mean, and again, there's not enough meat to push through everything and do more, because there's basically not enough to do. Like, no good side missions, nothing that really stands out as the wow factor. So, all in all, I gotta get the final GamerK's final verdict for Watch Dogs Badblood DLC. And again, granted, this was from 2014, so yeah, they were still hitting their stride, which was with Watch Dogs 2. I gotta give Badblood a 7 out of 10. It's nothing, it just got a peak over being just an okay deal, just a middle of the line DLC, because much like the No Compromise, whereas in that one the beginning was the best part and then the last part was boring as heck, here it's the first part that's boring and then the end of it's the good part. I just wish that they did more with this, but again, they were probably saving up for Watch Dogs 2. And all honesty, I'm glad we got to see Ray again in the second game, and Badblood was his big send-off. And that's it for this video, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe down below, and join me next week where it's time for a game review. That's going, hang on, what joke did I have for this? Let's see. Here we go. Join me next week as we go a little psycho in the next game review. Go a little psycho? Nothing about... really? Psycho? That's what we got? What do I pay these writers for? Okay, yeah, I know I don't pay them, but okay, this outro has gone on long enough. So just join me next week where we go over a cult classic that is really a big mind F, but in the good way. This is Gamer K, logging out.